When I'm in the collecting process, the generating process for a project, I'm reaching deep into the collective unconscious, deep into psyche, and that can be painful, but I'm getting used to it. I started life as a painter. I chose not to go to art school, but came to New Mexico and found a painting teacher who really taught me to draw. He taught me to be able to see what I was doing with some objectivity. Around 1980,
Oh my God.
I was introduced to a mouse. I really felt like I came home. My father was an engineer, my sister and brother were engineers, so I had a comfort level with the technology, and I was able to combine that with my drawing and creative skills. For a long time, I lived in both worlds, but both worlds separately. The painting studio and the computer got integrated, and now the iPad became totally integrated into my studio practice. It's all a seamless whole that floats from one platform to another and back and around and mixes and blends and is a lot of fun. I do a lot of drawing. It's the way I think about things. I really enjoy it. What I'm showing here are some of the drawings that I've done in terms of 3D models. And my process would be to start with a drawing and work out the form. And then when I felt like I was clear enough about the form, I would step into the software on the iPad and start actually creating a geometric model that could be printed. This is a drawing of an ancient thing that I saw in a museum that just really struck me, and this was something that I kept as a guidepost in all the modeling that I was doing. I was thinking about escutcheon, contained courtyard, shield, magic garden, that kind of thing. I often see things in the real world that I photograph or in some sort of print format that connects to what I'm thinking about, that attracts me or that pushes what I am already thinking about. I've always been into what I call creatures. I have a toy collection. This ended up being a model that I printed. Still interested in doing creatures. These guys have never been printed. Here's another creature that turned into Fish Bunny, a print that I really like. It has a lot of personality and a lot of attraction, a lot of fun to it. This is actually a printout of a model. It was using a printer that let me do two colors, not horizontally but independently. And so that's how I was able to do this. And I was also starting to think about pieces that could come apart and go back together, because a lot of the pieces that I printed just seemed very touchable. So I decided, why not give people a reason to touch them? These are drawings of things involved in the 3D printing realm. I've always been interested in forms. And I was doing a lot of drawing in Shaper 3D, trying to create more forms, and I got to these forms which were not possible with the software on the iPad. And so at that point, I finally just said, okay. I decided to build the forms. These forms are made out of trash plastic, cardboard, a material called scratch, which is sort of a natural plaster, very workable, water-soluble, very wonderful material, I think. I spent a lot of time on the surface. I was working on a hand series. I'm going to call them drawings. I guess you'd call them collages. And so hands were on my mind quite a bit. This series began from a couple of different sources. One source was this image where They had taken the brain out of a pig. They had reanimated the brain with various chemistry applications. Some of the brain functions were now happening again. And this was seen as rather momentous because the brain was completely dead and they were able to recreate some of the functionality. In addition to that, I was also very taken with the image with the hands and the organic nature of the brain and the geometric nature of the slicing machine. There seemed to be a lot of images where the hand was playing an important role. In the early fall of last year, it seemed prescient when all the blue hands started making an appearance. Like everyone else, including my grandson, I started making images of the virus. I found this one in an old sketchbook. But moving right along, it all started with a roll of contact paper that I got at a craft thrift store in Colorado. I was really taken with it. I bought it, it was kind of wrinkled, but using digital technology, I was able to scan it in, clean it up, make it a repeating pattern. I felt like it needed to be a house. There's the actual drawing of the house, and it seemed very important and very clear to me the form of the house. I drew the house, then I made a maquette. Sometime during this process, I remembered that my printer can print on hard surfaces. I experimented with that and played around with the contact sheet pattern that I had made and printed it on mat board. And I was able to make Tidy House herself. Then I started creating a series of still images. I started photoing her with various little setups and then started manipulating them. Oh, I had about 25 of these still images, and then Victoria saw them, and that launched our collaboration where I started making the still images into a movie, and she wrote and performed a narrative. I've created some puppets, which we call Tidy House on a Stick, that Victoria is going to use in performance. I'm currently working on my own toile pattern that's going to be laser cut as a stencil that we can use for the background in the installation.